You are live.
Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting of June 24th, 2025. Thank you all who are in the room and all of you who are with us via Zoom. First thing on our agenda is our public comment. We typically, as is our policy, 3 folks, and we ask that you limit your time to 2 minutes to discussing anything that is not on the agenda. In the room here, is there anyone? Okay, online.
There are no virtual hands.
Okay, moving on. Board member updates. Hector.
We're about to get our board member, my update from Green Advisory Committee, so not much there. Comprehensive plan is moving along.
Great.
None from me.
None from you. The only comment I have is the Town Hall Reuse Committee is finally ready with the recommendations, which we will hear this evening. So that's it for that. Town Administrator's report, please.
Thank you. After speaking with the chair, Megan, we are going to slightly change the correspondence policy beginning July 1st. Board correspondences will be listed on the agenda if they're received by the current time on Thursdays at 4 p.m. But we will accept and send to the board any correspondence received up until Monday at 4 p.m. We've heard some complaints about some recent agenda items that people couldn't weigh in until they saw that the agenda was posted and didn't have a chance to reach out to you. What we will do is Joyce will prepare a list of supplemental correspondence that the chair will read at the meeting, just to acknowledge that you've received them, and if someone wants to request them through a FOIA request, they will have access to them. So you should expect a follow-up email on Monday, right around 4 o'clock, with any additional correspondence for the next day's agenda. So that will be starting July 1st. In the last few weeks, we've had 2 trees planted on the Great Road side of Lower Common where there was an extended area devoid of trees. This was thanks to Ayun Sari, a longtime resident of Stowe. She lived on Old Bolton Road. She left money in her will for the town to plant trees. So our tree warden worked with...
Just to correct, Aoni.
Oh, Aoni? Okay,
Sorry.
So the tree warden worked with the company to plant them, and they will serve as her lasting legacy for all to enjoy in the common. And then finally, I wanted to wish Cindy Bremer Sari, no relation to the last Sari, a very happy and healthy retirement. Ann Needle and Nancy Arsenault did a wonderful job on her party last week. It was nice to see and hear so many stories from the last 2 decades, see everybody, really see Cindy get the acknowledgement that she deserves. She was very happy. It was a really nice event. And I look forward to working with the 2 new owners of the Independent, Kristen Farmer and Stephanie Lewis. They are expecting to take the month of July with no print papers. I think tomorrow is Cindy's last edition. Then they will take the month of July to regroup. They're going to build up their online presence and hope to have papers resume in August. So stay tuned, but it's very exciting. They're very excited to get started and work with the town. So that's it.
Okay. And moving her along, appointments. I will take motion.
Mr. Chair, I move, you wanna do each individually? Or read them all? I guess each individually.
Yes,
A different
we have in
position.
this case.
I move to reappoint Dorothy Spalding to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
May I just comment? So these are all folks being reappointed that we just didn't hear from by the deadline, with the exception of your last appointment, which is Megan to SMOT. If you'll recall, you had this discussion when we did committee assignments. And the thought process was we were gonna reach out to Courtney to see if she wanted to continue in that role. We actually read when the bylaw was created, and it requires it to be an active board of select board member. And so Megan had volunteered that if it couldn't be. So I just wanted to clarify the appointments.
Okay.
Okay. Any further comment on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. I'll take the next, please.
I move to reappoint Michael Bush to the Recreation Commission for a one-year term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any further comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. I'll take the next,
I
please.
move to reappoint Brooke Konechny?
I think she says Conesney, but I'm not positive.
Close enough.
Okay, to the Recreation Commission for a one-year term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any comments?
Sorry for butchering the name.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that's unanimous. Next,
I move to reappoint Ingeborg Hegeman to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2028.
I will second that for
Oh,
her.
you're gonna second it? Okay, fine.
Okay. Any comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let the record show it is unanimous. I'll take the next, please.
I move to reappoint Dan Barstow to the Lake Boone Commission for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. And I'll take the next.
And finally, I move to appoint Megan Birch McMichael as the Select Board Representative to the Stowe Municipal Affording Housing Trust, SMAT, for a 2-year term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any comments? Thanks, Megan, wherever you are. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. And I will take the next. For the police and fire department appointments, you can do all those in one shot.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to appoint the following police department personnel through June 30th, 2026. Michael Solisi, Chief of Police. Kelly Barheit, Lieutenant. David Gogan, Sergeant. Robert Nelson, Sergeant. Josh Barrier, Sergeant. Christopher Coots, Patrol Officer. Brandon Murphy, Prosecutor. John Butler, Patrol Officer. John Fantasia, Patrol Officer. Jason Rogers, Detective. Brian McCarthy, Patrol Officer. Stephen Stewart, Patrol Officer. I further move to appoint the following full-time fire department personnel through June 30th, 2026. Mark Gehring, Eric Benoit, Matthew McNulty, Olivia Lang, Camden Hurley, Benjamin Glover.
Second.
Any comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, let the record show that both were unanimous. Okay, so that takes care of our appointments. So, special event permit.
Nope. It is your town hall reuse committee presentation.
Oh, excuse me, I'm going off of this. Thank you. Jesus, the committee I'm on and I'm sweating, holy cow. So, we'll take the presentation of the Town Hall Reuse Committee to present their recommendations. Who's going to start?
I guess I start.
Perfect timing, Stacy.
Sorry.
You can catch your breath first.
I'll take a quick. All right. All right,
Sorry.
good folks of the select board. I'm Stacey Goldman, and I'm a member of the Town Hall Reuse Committee. And I just ran here.
Yeah.
And I'm here with a number of our other committee members to present you with our recommendations regarding the reuse of the historic town hall building just across the street. Our committee consisted of myself, Maureen Crawford, Jonathan Daisy, Richard Fishman, Tom Farnsworth, Bill Roop, and JT Toole. Okay, next slide. So our committee was formed for the purpose of creating a comprehensive analysis of the town hall building reuse opportunities. And we were going to evaluate it for potential reuse in the future, but also take into consideration the possibility of renting the building to an outside source, or to, in some way dispose of, or even consider the destruction of the building. And so we are here today to make our recommendations to you regarding that reuse after doing a pretty comprehensive year-long process. So I'm actually gonna pass it over to Bill to talk about what that process was, and I'm gonna sit down and take some deep breaths.
Do you need a glass of water?
No, I'm fine.
You can have a mint or something. Get some candy in there.
Would you prefer that I stand, or is it okay to sit?
No,
or
you can sit, Bill.
I'll sit probably just as well at this point. Yes, what we've done, what I'm gonna talk about is comparing it to other properties that have been reused. And we looked at a lot, maybe 25 or 30. I apologize to JT, who's been through all this already, and I know you already know a lot of this, but when we looked at the other properties, the things we're sort of looking at was the use, the ownership of the property, how the financing was structured, and whether it was maintained or restored. And those were pretty basic issues that you'd figure out. And a lot of this, we spent a year on it, and I think it was done very seriously. We didn't spend a lot of money on it, but it was a lot of it intuitive, and I think the committee did a very good job. So then, when you get into the two major components, obviously, are the real estate itself, and then the financial and political support. So I've selected 8 that the committee had agreed we'd show. So this one happens to be in Hingham. This was the first parish in Hingham in 1829, and it's now a single-family house. It's a 5-bedroom house, about 5,400 square feet. And the reason we selected it is very similar to the Stowe Greek Revival style property, and has been restored in that way. And then, now, did we already go by the Stowe Town Hall? Is that?
That's the last one.
Last one, good, okay, sorry. And so we can, and we want to, if there are any questions, just interrupt because I don't want to take too much time. I know you got a lot of other things to do. So the next one would be in Framingham that we looked at. And I apologize for the quality of some of these photos. I borrowed them from the Google drive-by source. But this is 1834, again, Greek Revival, used to be the town hall, town offices. It's now the Village Hall on the Common, and it's primarily an event space. It's a 501c3, and it's sponsored by the Framingham Historic Center, and they lease it from the town. So what we begin to see is a financing source and a property that's been repaired, or the word restored is a little tricky. I've restored buildings. We restored the 1860 Faxon House next to the Stowe Post Office. And it almost fell down while we were restoring it, I think, but that meant, to me, means you redo everything. And I think one of the conclusions we'll get to is you don't have to redo everything and spend a fortune to be successful. The next one is in Westford. Westford is a church, which is the Parish Center for the Arts. And this is a 501c3 community group that actually my wife and I joined when it first started. I actually looked at the property for sale years ago, and it was a difficult challenge what to do. And that's been very successful. And it's again the 501c3, and they do community, art, theater, event space, cultural activities, and they have entertainment from really all over the world. And they set up with tables, you bring your own booze, your own snacks, very, very successful, and a lot of fun. We go there quite often, actually. So that's been a very successful thing. Now, they worked out there, they bought it from the church at somewhat of a discounted price with a 1-year financing, some other details. But that's a way that one worked. And the next one, I put that in, that's in Maynard, the Sanctuary Cultural Arts Center. And again, it's interesting. It's got a bar. They have performances, dancing. They've done it great. It's privately owned, and it's commercial. But we looked at that because we're thinking, well, would that fit for Stowe, or how do all these fit? And again, they have great event space, and we've gone there fairly often. The next one is in Harvard, 1880. Oh, and by the way, in Maynard, my computer said 1900. It was actually built in 1853. Sometimes my computer jumps in and tries to help with plugging in names and numbers. Harvard in 1887, this was originally the library. And this is an interesting building. You can see they did a lot with the main entrance steps and the handicap ramp. So they spent some money on that. And it's the Five Sparks Art and Culture Center. My wife is an artist. We often go there to see displays. But when I was there last summer, I was looking, the windows are all the original windows, kind of rickety, but it felt nice and air conditioned. I said, wow, how do they do it? Well, they put air conditioners in the window. So that's an example of you can make these things work without spending a fortune on redoing them all. The next one is Concord. Concord is probably the granddaddy of them around the area with the Emerson Umbrella Arts Center. And that was originally a Concord High School. That was 1929, so we kind of moved away from the 19th century just a little. And the thing that's unique about that building is a steel frame building. And so if you've been there, they have a spectacular theater. If you ever get a chance to go to the theater, they took the whole thing apart, rebuilt it. It's like a brand new professional theater you'd see in Boston. They've got all kinds of, and it's a 300-seat theater, art, educational space, studios, and event space. And so that's done very well. The fact that a wealthy benefactor may have contributed $25 million to help out is whatever. And then the last one is Bolton, which again originally was the high school, 1849 through 1916, then the police department. And now they've done a clever thing with they've leased the upstairs to the cable access, and the community space is available for the town. And again, I wouldn't call it necessarily a full restoration, but kept in good shape. Then for the conclusion of looking at these, rather than just peek at them and say, aren't they pretty pictures, there are a couple things I was going to share. One of the things that was interesting was during our meetings, we met with the nonprofit 501c3 Stowe Historical Society. So they're the only 501c3 we talked to, and Bruce Fetcher had asked to meet with us just to see what was going on. It was just inquiry, but it was interesting. He was talking just conceptually about maybe doing something together, maybe there's an opportunity to use the 501c3. And they have an interesting thing they're concerned about. The artifacts that relate to the history of Stowe are spread all over the community in barns and garages and basements. And as people get older, pass away or move, a lot of these things may be lost, and which would be unfortunate. And also, working with them may renew interest in history. To me, the town hall is really an important property in the town. It provides an important streetscape to me as you drive through. That's why we restored the Faxon House. It wasn't in a historic district or anything, but it just made the street look much better. And then creating the barn, even though it's a commercial space, it looks like a village instead of a strip shopping center or something. And so the town hall restoration report in 2020, the committee did, was an excellent report. I'm in the business of construction and building anyway, about maybe 300 pages of all kinds of details. Most of it's still very relevant, be a great resource going forward. The financial projections have not gone down, obviously, they've gone up, so that part isn't right there. But I think that the information there is terrific. And I've got to say, Denise was incredibly helpful to our committee. She knows everything about that building. She knows why the balcony railing doesn't meet code, or why the basement is damp, or any question. Denise has the answer. So she was extremely helpful in even putting all these things together for us. So I wouldn't want to take credit on a lot of this, and that's the whole thing right there, is how do we maintain the building and keep it going? And that's what you've been dealing with, obviously, for 35 years since you moved over here, and Palmacitic and so forth. And I personally, I think it's on the right track. It just needs some tweaking, my personal opinion, although the committee will be giving their thing. So in the conclusion, there were 7 of these that are used for the community benefit. 1 is private, all 7 are used for the benefit of the community. Ownership, 5 are owned by the town, 3 are owned privately. And the reason that's interesting, because we looked at should it be private, should it be town, or whatever. And 4 of them are 501c3. And that's a key, I think, to making the financing work. Because the key is, all of these have some way of outside money coming in. They're not just paid for by the town. The town probably can't afford or politically doesn't want to or will cover everything. So oddly enough, this one is the only one that is really town financed. I mean, there's a little money coming in, but there's no big contribution from a nonprofit or other thing. So out of this, 4 are what I would call maintained, and 4 are restored. And I use the term restored loosely. That could be upgraded or renovation, or you just keep the boiler going. You know, there's a whole range there. It's not from my restoration experience, not replacing everything, which we often had to do because it was federally financed affordable housing, for example. And so in conclusion, there are 2 things that I conclude, and I think the committee's conclude, is antique buildings can be operated and maintained without completely restoring them. And the second is that to have an ongoing successful operation like we've shown you, you need some kind of additional financial support and political support to get there. And so, and with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the committee, and we have our formal recommendation. This is really just my adding some comment instead of just showing you 8 pretty pictures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jonathan, you're up.
So, we're showing you. Got the order wrong. So, these are activities that are currently happening. This is within the last year. So the space is getting used now. Some of the pictures, well, fairly recently, the top left, we had a Shakespeare company come in, and it was a free performance for the town. And it was just about packed, and while we were there, we asked the audience, if you haven't been in this building before, could you raise your hand? And about 1/3 of the people raised their hands. So the goal was try to get also, I mean, have a town event, but also to have people see the building and see the inside. And it was successful, I think, in both. The top right corner picture, that's been going on for years. The Troop 1 Stowe Boy Scouts use it a lot for their presentations. It's a beautiful space. It's wooden floors. It has a nice high ceilings, so I think they feel it gives a nice air to the ceremony of these young men getting their Eagle Scout badges. And also recently, the bottom right, the Stowe Area Guild of Artists had an open house. We got to set up their artwork. Courtney was one of them, and it got a lot of people in there, and I think everybody had a good time. For many years in the middle, there's been a Japanese drumming group who's rehearsing there. Apparently, the other nice thing about the floor is the fact that if you dance, it has give, and as a dancer, it makes it a lot easier to move in there. Anyways, they've been there for years. They performed for the Stowe Spring Fest a couple of times, partly for thanking us for letting them use the space, because they don't pay very much. So, and on the middle left, our chief of police had a town hall where he met with some of the residents to talk about his police procedures and what they were doing. So they were in that space and they used it well. And then the other 2, middle right, bottom left, Stowe resident Lynn Coletti, she's been volunteering for Stowe TV for a long time. Her daughter did a baking show in the basement here. And she decided she wanted to do some interviews. So we liked the quilt backdrop we set up in there. And the bottom left, she's interviewing a couple of local children's book authors. The one on the left is here in Stowe, the one on the right is from Harvard. And then on the middle right, she's interviewing the woman from the state who's in charge of the bike path. As director of Stowe TV, it's a very nice space. It's great to film. It's very easy, has a bulk gate. So these are all actually, except for the Shakespeare, these are all stills. Anyway, so these are all very current. This is, and just shows you the variety of things, the way it can be used and it is being used. I will pass it on to whoever is next.
Richard.
Hi, so we took a look at what possible fates would await the building and prior to putting out a survey. So municipal uses, which is office space, as you know, cultural stuff, for example, the group we had, the art show, other things, the dance, a lot of things like that are happening already. The possibility of having a commercial enterprise take it over, but still owned by the town. Creating residential space, and then two sadder ones, selling to a private owner or just demolishing it, which incidentally is extremely expensive, as you probably know. So those are the 6 items listed on the survey we did. And the survey's purpose was to gauge public interest and support for reusing the building, for preserving it, and to gather opinions on specific reuse options. And we recognize there are definitely funding challenges because the building needs, to be restored, as Bill was pointing out, would cost a huge amount of money. And we weren't suggesting that that was something we want to deal with right away. But the survey did include questions on people's willingness to contribute in various ways. And we also left space at the end for people to make comments, to assess public attitudes and to identify the concerns people had about the building. So the survey use data is the next slide. And, oh wait, I'm sorry, that's my mistake. Skip one. So the funding options or ways of participating. These bars do not add up to 100 because people were encouraged to check off as many as they wished. So some people wanted to see their taxes increase for it. More were willing to have fundraising happen. They weren't necessarily volunteering to do it. But 38.5% said that they would volunteer in some way, which is pretty nice. And 60% would approve of using CPC money at town meeting. And almost 22% didn't want to contribute in any way. Some of them obviously didn't want to, donate, but I think it was more that people didn't want their taxes to be used for it.
I have a
So,
question.
yeah.
How many responses to the survey were there?
200, it's over 200.
Okay.
There's over
One of the ways we
237. I
got the
think.
survey out was at the art show we had in October. We handed them out. Okay, so the survey use data. About 71% of people wanted to see it used for either municipal offices or cultural activities, which is a pretty nice chunk of people. 12.5% wanted it commercial. Tiny sliver wanted to make it into residence. Almost 12% wanted to sell it, and one person, or how many that represents, a couple of people said tear it down. So then we also would like to show you some of the comments that people made. Or are they going to be on a slide, or just read them?
Did you mention the 72%?
I did.
Okay,
That was
sorry.
what, yeah.
We were trying to find how many.
257.
257.
You were right.
257.
It's about
Right in the report.
3% of the town.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
So one person said, I'd be fine with municipal use or commercial space as long as the historic nature of the facility was conserved, bemoaning losing charming other buildings and things not so pretty. Another person said, we can't keep maintaining buildings without revenue sources. Updating town building, new library, community center, concern about not having enough people paying enough taxes to do it. And another person was more enthusiastic. It'd be used for all kinds of meetings in both town and cultural. And then one more, we've spent far too much on the library where we have the huge Bolton High School project coming up on our tax rolls. There are plenty of meeting space. So there was a wide variety of comments, and I am now gonna turn over to the conclusion.
Maureen.
Sorry, Maureen.
I'm the only one left. So this is a summary of our conclusions. One of the items, we put it into different categories. One is a lack of awareness, which is what Jonathan said, of the people who attended the Macbeth, only a third of them had ever been in the building before. Myself, I've been in it twice in the 28 years I've lived here in Stowe, which is pretty sad. A lot of people don't know what are the events that are being had there, how could they rent it, etc., things like that. The appetite for cultural events. Community shows the interest in the cultural activities. When Macbeth was there, all kinds of people signed up to get the tickets for it. When there is the Chiefs event there, people attended that. So depending upon what it is, if it tweaks their interest, they'll show up. But I think a majority of people are saying, what is being had there? They don't realize there is a calendar for that location and that they can go and, access that calendar. Lack of support for major capital projects. As Richard said, there's been a lot of expenses over the past few years. A lot of people don't have an appetite to continue right now with that. So what we've got in it, we're saying fear of what the building will be used for. We're thinking of maybe doing a trial run to get people interested in the building, like the Macbeth was a trial run. People showed up for that. Start putting little things out like that. See, what the interest and the appetite is of the community, of the people.
Did you say fear of what it's gonna be used for?
Yeah, some people, I don't know what it's gonna be used for, what are people gonna do? And, is it gonna affect my taxes if it's used for this? And, it's the unknown. A lot of people,
Okay.
they just don't know. Or they don't even know what the capacity is, or how could I even use it for an event? Could I rent it for a birthday party for my kids? It'd be a really cool space to do something like that. Or a bridal shower, There's a lot of things that you could rent the space for, which would be a lot less expensive depending upon, as you had mentioned, Denise, during our meetings, that the scale has to be revamped and rethought through and everything to make it appropriate. But, down the road, with some minor tweaks, those are possibilities.
Thanks.
So on this slide, what we had done was we broke it down to 6 different categories. One is focus the efforts on the main floor of the historic town hall. Go in, make the minor changes that are required to get it, freshened up. New chairs, fresh paint, lighting, things like that. Do the minor investment in it that it needs. Don't get into the large expense that was originally thought of, which as a town we can't afford right now. And then support funding for the minor repairs and maintenance. See if we could do fundraisers, like the Randall Library Project had fundraisers and things like that. Because it's historical, maybe we could go for an application to the CPC. And we're revamping our application, by the way. Our new deadline is October 15th. For the interest. And take just a little bit of money because there's not really maintenance, I don't think, for doing that first floor and the minor things. Granted the chairs wouldn't fall under it, but the paint and the lighting could fall under historical renovation. So as we have here, ensure
And
the
just for
structure.
the board's edification, the bathrooms are already considered handicapped accessible.
Yeah.
So that's an expense we do not have to consider at this point in time.
Right, we might have to address the ADA entrance.
No, we don't.
We don't.
There's a ramp. It's-
There is the ramp, right. See, I haven't been there in enough. Ensure the structure remains in good condition, so, if there's anything, I think you mentioned there was something about maybe a board or something here and there.
I'm sorry.
Was there anything you mentioned about, like, some boards that might need to be replaced? Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but anyway, have some go in and make sure there's structure. Encourage art and culture events was one of the things. Have the Macbeth, have the art shows, bring different things in, get people into the building, re-engage their interest in the building. Boost awareness of the building, utilizing the events. Form a utilization committee, which will help boost that awareness. Analyze and review utilization over the next 5 years. So what we're looking at is not a whole kit and caboodle. Phase it out over an initial 5 years and possibly longer down the road. Don't try and eat the elephant all at once, bite it bits and pieces. And continue use of municipal purposes. Encourage employees to use the available space for meetings and events. So what we had written up is, in summary, the committee's overall recommendation, based on the findings and research, is to focus on municipal and cultural development over the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to just make a comment since I sat on the committee. I want to thank every single committee member for your diligence, for your perseverance, and for continuing with the goal to move things forward in what seemed to be a reasonable manner, which at times was not easy. But also exemplifying what a group of folks in town can do, and looking without having to spend $5 or $10 million. And I really applaud you for that process and for really delving into it and looking at it as you did. I also would like to echo Bill's comments. A lot of this would not have been able to have been done as expeditiously as we were able to do without the work from Denise, who literally spent endless hours in research at times for us. And I just really want to thank her for that effort.
You're here.
Greatly appreciated.
It was very helpful that she had that
It really was.
big, huge book too.
Yeah, 300 pages.
So I do thank you. And I also want to thank the previous committee who put that book together, because I really felt by delving into that and really looking at it, it really showed what actually can be done at this point in time in a reasonable fashion. So thank you.
The book was an immense resource for the committee because we could go back to it and see what was previously already researched. And then with Bill's real estate knowledge and the arts and everything and the additional members, I think it made everything gel really well with the members.
So with that, I would ask if it's possible to put something on the August agenda for the board to consider what our next steps will be with the recommendations that's come from the Town Hall Reviews Committee. I don't think we're ready for any kind of a vote tonight or anything like that.
Sure, I do have a question that we could discuss further, but in August, which is, what is I love the fact that you clarified between maintenance and restoration. I think that's really very
That's a key.
helpful. It is key. So I would love to know what kind of maintenance costs there are associated with this recommendation.
So I would
And
say,
maybe we already have it from that report, but
well, I mean, again, maintenance we're doing currently. I mean, so we're
exactly.
doing minor maintenance. I think looking at the recommendations of painting, actually, we have a quote to actually paint the exterior of the building. That was what I wanted to do sort of first. But then, you know, paint the inside, definitely the chairs. I mean, I think we even could look to maybe freshen up the bathrooms a little bit. They are compliant, but they're old and outdated. You know, so once we start doing that, there's no maintenance to that. There's still the maintenance of the building itself. So I don't know that there's a cost to the recommendation. I think there is some time needed from the board. It was mentioned that, you know, the board really needs to look at your policy on what that building should be used for. The fee schedule has to be taken into consideration, profit, nonprofit should be taken into consideration. And then one of the recommendations, I don't know if you, when Maureen mentioned it, is I think, and I'll speak for the committee at the moment, but I think they feel that their job is done at this point, and they're asking you to form a utilization committee to then take your recommendations on how you want that building to function, and then use that to market it, get folks invested in the building and use it. I think overall, we felt that looking at, you know, it doesn't have to be 5 years, but looking at a period of time to see if, you know, if people will use it. We've restructured things, we've freshened it up. Is there a viable usage that will continue and maintain that structure? Maybe have a 501c3 be interested in partnering? Are there lease options to lease it to a cultural entity? That's all still the unknown. So I think the proposal is it's low cost. We do have some money. I had CPC approved funding a couple years ago that's just been sitting there to do some of these minor updates while we figure out what we're doing with it. And then that will just give the board some information between what they just provided you, what a utilization committee can take with your policy and see, you know, do we really need to put $10 million in? Because all these people want to use it and it actually can be profitable for the community. But I think ongoing maintenance is not much more than we're.
Structural stability, I guess, would be the only.
And so we have the report, it is structurally sound. You know, certainly things need to be updated, the basement cannot be used until we actually take care of the water issue. I mean, there was mold down there and it does get damp. The balcony is not ADA accessible, so we can have an employee up there filming, but the public cannot use that space. And it is limited to 150 on the main floor. So, you know, but it is structurally sound, which is good news. So really, it's cosmetic to just get us through and figure out how people can use it.
And I do really enjoy the historical aspect of, you know, preserving all our history in one location. Because our history goes very deep and it's not just white man's history, so.
Speaking from Stowe TV's perspective, it's so much nicer in there because it's such a warm, you know, wood,
It's wonderful.
natural stuff, you
Yes.
know. Poplar Syndicate Center is very nice, cinder blocks, not the most aesthetically pleasing.
50s, 60s, hey, you know. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Can I make
Yes.
a quick comment? Even if you spent $5 or $6 million and redid it, magnificent, you still have the same issue you're talking about right now.
Right.
What would you use it for?
Exactly.
Who would use it? How would they use it? So you actually start the other way and work into it. And that's how these, most of these buildings, I showed you the pictures, that's how they did it, a little at a time. And then it becomes successful.
Right,
Right,
and
and
Maureen's
typically
comment
they-
that people just don't know about it, so I
Right.
think that's very good.
Part of the history of the other buildings is they did get it going and then all of a sudden there was an interest with a 501c3 that came and said, hey, we do wanna partner with you.
Thank you for doing this, by the way, on behalf of the, because I think it's a good idea, it's important. Streetscape and
Oh,
a sense
everything
of
about it.
place
Yes,
is
I think
important.
the one or
You-
two people who said tear it down, they have no
No, no.
imagination. I don't know
They
what
could
it's,
also be new to the town and not have utilized the building.
well, I
They-
don't know, if
they-
you're new, learn first before you just decide to squash something.
Yes.
Every bug is not disgusting, you know what I mean?
Well, the other thing they don't realize is to tear it down, you're looking at over $2 million.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
still extremely
Oh my
expensive,
goodness,
So,
yes.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I just wanna point out that Bill was an amazing resource. Bill has a history, a career in development. And at first I thought, oh my God, what's that gonna be? But he was great. I mean, he just, I don't think we would have gotten where we got without Bill, because he really had the vision. And I think let us see that there was a possibility without spending a lot of money, so thank you, Bill.
It was thanks to the rest of the committee, but thanks to my wife who's an artist, and that's why I've been going to all these other events. So it's not really the real estate, but
Phenomenal job, and I also love the way you broke up your presentation with everyone participating. I thought that was wonderful.
And
Great working committee.
again, thanks to Denise, she really put it all together. Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, guys
Thanks.
and ladies.
Thank you
Gives
all.
us potential and hope.
I'll be talking to somebody at the CPC meeting.
Mr. Chair, before you move on, can I just make an announcement?
Yes.
The power is still out on parts of Harvard Road and Harvard Acres. The chief is on his way to speak to HLP, but we have about 200 homes without power at the moment. If anyone needs to cool down, he will open up the police station for folks. Now, I don't know that anyone can watch it if they don't have power, but if anyone's streaming us, they will open up the police station if people need to cool down. At this point, we don't know what the timeline is to have the power
Was
back.
there a tree fall?
I'm sorry?
Did a tree fall?
I believe a tree fell.
Yeah, it was pretty quick and pretty sudden, which is why I use the facilities here, cause I'm an electric house. So I'll post it on my Facebook group.
Yeah, my wife just spoke to the police and they heard from Hudson Power, it was saying 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
So it
Oh,
shouldn't
that's
be
not bad.
too bad.
Okay, yeah, he hasn't
Thank you
gotten
for the
back to me yet, but just
information.
in case people do need to cool down, the police station is available.
Great.
As is this building, as long as we're meeting, but,
You said
And
police
it's cool in here.
and Pompo?
well, here, as long as we're meeting, they can come here because the building's open.
Okay.
And, okay, I'm gonna move on to the Green Advisory Committee update presentation.
Thank you. Do we have the,
Yep, just give me a second. Can only do so much at once.
yes, so this is our first annual update since the select board adopted the Stowe Climate Action Plan a year ago last June. Next slide, please. So what we're going to do is just update you on what's happened since you adopted the plan in terms of activities, the progress we've made in the major sectors, and the issues and challenges that we're facing. Next slide, please. So just to remind the board, when the Green Advisory Committee was formed, one of the primary missions was to align the town with the overall emissions reduction targets that had been set by the state in what was called the roadmap legislation of 2021. What is shown on the right there is the townwide emissions inventory that was our baseline, which was actually back in 2017, and where we would need to be in 2030 to be in sync with the overall state targets. As we'll see in the following slides, I think we currently are on track to meet those targets. And in fact, in all of the major sectors, we are actually leading the state in all of those sectors. However, there are significant challenges going forward, and we'll speak to those as well. Next slide, please. So just wanted to highlight a few major activities in the last year. One in particular was that the town was designated one of the 19 communities in the state to be designated a climate leader. That was something that the board certainly participated in and helped meet all of the criteria required for that designation. As part of that, we're now, the Stowe schools can qualify for funding under the Climate Leaders designation, and the Designation included what's called an accelerator grant of $1 million and $150,000 for a technical assistance grant. So I think the town should be very pleased with being one of the first towns in the state to get that designation. About 6 months ago, that we, in the Green Advisory Committee, in conjunction with the volunteer group Sustainable Stowe, started a newsletter that we call Energized Stowe. There's a little snapshot of it in the bottom right hand. So we've been publishing that monthly. We have about 400 subscribers, and we certainly hope that that is something that keeps the town informed and keeps the town engaged. We did, under a state grant, install chargers both at Pompo and the community park. I used it for the first time at Pompo the other day, just to check it out. And at town meeting, we passed the single-use plastic bag bylaw. Next slide. So this is just 2 pie charts just to demonstrate or illustrate how the emissions in Stowe are broken down by sector and by fuel. And the left-hand pie chart is by sector, so what should be apparent there is pretty evenly divided between emissions from transportation, mostly private cars, and emissions from buildings, mostly private residences, and a small sliver, 4%, from electricity. The right-hand pie chart is the breakdown by fuel use. Again, gasoline and diesel, the transportation fuels, combined are a little more than half. Fuel oil and natural gas are most of the other half, and then electricity, again, is a relatively small contributor. Next slide. So here we're going to dive a little deeper into each of the major sectors. As you saw in the previous slide, buildings represent 44% of the town's baseline greenhouse gas emissions. And what the state is doing as a proxy to estimate how the state is doing against its own targets is to use the number of buildings that have heat pumps installed as a proxy for the emissions targets in the building sector. So the illustration on the right has 2 graphs. The bottom one, in red, represents or is the percent of buildings in the state that have had heat pumps installed since 2021 through 2024. And the blue line represents the percent of buildings in Stowe, primarily private homes, that have installed heat pumps between 2021 and 2024. You can see that, the graph is moving upwards, both for the state and for Stowe, but the percentage of buildings in Stowe that have had heat pumps installed is almost twice that of the state as a whole. We're currently approaching 10%, and the goal for 2030 is 17%. So I would, assuming we continue at the same rate that we have been, I think we are currently tracking towards that 2030 target. Next slide, please. So this is a similar breakdown for the transportation sector. Again, transportation is a little over half of the town's total greenhouse gas emissions. And again, what the state has done is used the number of fully electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids as a proxy for how they're doing against their emissions targets in the transportation sector. The blue line, as in the previous slide, represents the adoption of EVs and plug-in hybrids in Stowe. The red line is the state as a whole. Again, you can see in both cases, a continuing increase in adoption. But again, you can see that Stowe is outpacing the state by a significant margin. Similarly to the building sector, the 2030 target is to have 17% of vehicles in the state and consequently in Stowe be either electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids. We're not at the 10% level that we are as we saw in the previous slide for heat pumps. But I think if the adoption accelerates over the next 5 years, that it's reasonable to think that we could achieve that 17% target for 2030.
Except our federal government isn't helping us. There's the challenge right there.
That's a real challenge.
Worth noting that it's plug-in hybrids, not non-plug-in hybrids.
It's EVs and PHEVs, you
Right.
said, right?
Plug-in.
Plug-in, it has to be.
And
The hybrids that are not plug-in are not counted in these metrics.
That's correct.
Oh, cause there
It's
are
either all
hybrids that
electric-
are not,
That's right, it's
Oh,
either all
okay.
electric or just plug-in hybrid.
okay.
So the next major sector is the energy sector, and that's primarily, we're talking about electricity there. So as we saw earlier, electricity represents a relatively small contribution to townwide greenhouse gas emissions, and that's because the electricity that we get from Hudson Light and Power is almost entirely sourced from non-greenhouse gas emitting generation sources, and that's, as I think you know, that's nuclear, it's hydro, and it's solar. So the chart on the right shows the emissions per unit of electricity generated with the red bar from Hudson Light and Power. The blue bar represents the state average currently, or actually in 2022, and the green bar represents the 2030 target for the state as a whole. So as you can see, you know, Hudson Light and Power, which provides us with essentially all of the electricity that we use, already far exceeds the 2030 target for the state as a whole. So we're more than in good shape there. The one thing I would like to point out, there's been significant capital project ongoing at Hudson Light and Power, which is almost complete, which is the addition of a new transmission line to the substation at Hudson Light and Power and the upgrade of that substation. So that provides us with both more total capacity and more resilience, since the substation can continue to operate.
Is that still based on or is that still based on nuclear and hydro and,
It's all, the mix is still the same,
okay,
regardless of where the transmission line is coming from. These are contracts that the Hudson Light and Power has for electricity, for the most part, from, as we said, nuclear, hydro, and solar. The one thing I did want to point out is one area that does need work is from the substation in Hudson. There are so-called distribution lines coming into the town of Stowe. The two main ones are along Gleasondale Road and Hudson Road. They are both approaching their capacity limits. The one on Gleasondale Road is currently being upgraded and will have, when that project is complete later this year, we'll have approximately twice the capacity it does now. But the one on Hudson Road also is nearing capacity, and the current plans of Hudson Light and Power are not to have that upgrade done for about another 5 years. So that does present an issue. It's already an issue for the Wandering Pond development. And there is a workaround that Hudson Light and Power is working with the developer to extend the line along that's coming in from Gleasondale Road along 117 and up Hudson Road to provide the capacity needed for that all-electric development. But it is something that we need to keep an eye on going forward. Next slide. So just on this whole area called natural solutions, and here we're focusing on carbon sequestration. We did do our own modeling as part of the climate action plan to estimate what the annual sequestration was from town forests and other open spaces. What our estimate is, and that has since been confirmed by another model that we were able to get our hands on, that essentially almost a quarter of townwide emissions is sequestered annually, primarily by town forests and other trees. And then the red bar on the right is showing the percent of statewide emissions that are sequestered by all of the forests and other open spaces in the state as a whole. So as, again, you can see that, statewide, it's about half of what we're able to do in Stowe. So we need to, at a minimum, protect the health of our existing forests and, if possible, increase the amount of protected land in the town. Next slide. So our plans going forward in the near term, we need to continue and increase community engagement. We've been talking about working more with the schools, working with the Council on Aging, doing outreach in other ways to engage as many residents as we can. We do need to move ahead with the Climate Leader Grant that I spoke to earlier. The first step there is applying for this technical assistance. We've started working with the town and the regional schools facilities directors on potential projects, and those then will be looked at in detail as part of this technical assistance grant. So we don't anticipate that we'll be actually applying for this $1 million accelerator grant until probably mid-year next year. And finally, one of the things we do want to do, and has been done to a degree, is to align the climate action plan with the comprehensive plan, at least have them reference each other. So, and then getting to the challenges that we touched on a little bit earlier. So,
Arnie?
yes.
Just one quick question. On the grant monies, that's not a one-time grant. It can be reapplied for other projects, correct?
You can apply for multiple projects with the grant application, but the way that it's currently structured is that grant is open for 3 years. And during that 3-year period, after you do your technical assistance and you know what projects that you want to apply for, you have that, basically it's that one shot during the 3 years. And then, what we anticipate and what we hope for is then there'll be another, 3-year period. One thing just that was, just as I'd like to bring up, we had been applying for and had received grants through Green Communities competitive grants, including the $500,000 grant we got, so-called building decarbonization grant to help with the renovation of the library. One of the things the Green Communities folks are still working out is whether, if you're a designated climate leader, can you apply for, both the Climate Leader Accelerator Grant and the ongoing competitive grants from Green Communities. And I spoke to our regional Green Communities coordinator about that just yesterday, and she's anticipating that will be clarified later this summer, she thinks by August.
Can I just add, with the technical assistance grant, we were talking about adding multiple projects for the technical assistance piece. So just trying to get some idea of what the cost will be, what the project will look like, but then taking one of those, likely one of the school items, and then applying for the full grant. But if we can couple like the windows in this building and things that we have on our plan anyways, and roll them all into one technical assistance grant, it'll actually at least help us figure out what the next projects will be.
So this is the final slide and are the challenges that we're facing going forward. So as already been alluded to, at the federal level, essentially all of the funds that had been allocated in what was called the Inflation Reduction Act are being discontinued. So that affects essentially all sectors. We've talked about buildings, so that's going to impact the funding that homeowners and commercial property owners, municipal property owners can receive for retrofitting their buildings to heat pumps and weatherizing their buildings. It's going to impact, as you've probably heard, the incentive that people will get for purchasing electric vehicles. And it's certainly impacting the state's goals for hitting their own targets for cleaning up the energy sector, particularly offshore wind. As you're probably aware, the permits that had been issued for the projects that had been anticipated to be online by 2030 have now been put on hold. And there are regulatory changes as well that similarly have a negative impact on making progress in meeting the state's goals and will have that same impact for the town. We could talk about that some more. I think you probably are aware of that, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with going forward. Just want to bring again to your attention that we do need to have a timely upgrade for the distribution lines from Hudson Light and Power. We are, tracking towards that 2030 goal as we adopt more electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, more homeowners retrofit their homes to heat pumps, then the demand for electricity continues to increase, and we have to have the capacity from the substation in Hudson to Stowe to keep pace with that increased demand for electricity. And finally, and most importantly, the residents and the businesses and town government need to stay committed and engaged going forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful presentation.
Yes, excellent and very well thought out. Appreciate it.
And I do believe the comprehensive plan is referencing some of the
It
green,
is.
yeah.
Was there any update as to why the delay in the Hudson line, distribution line?
So,
Just
I can just
real quick,
answer that. I've had,
just to give a
and I
backstory.
think Denise has had
the line was supposed to go
conversation.
in 2 years from now, and for some reason Hudson Light and Power delayed it by another 3 years. Without giving an explanation.
Yeah, so, right, to elaborate a little bit, they did have a capital plan just this past March, which showed that upgraded transmission line from along Hudson Road happening as
Distribution line.
distribution line, sorry, in
I was gonna say,
2027.
no one's gonna want a transmission line up that
Yeah.
road.
Updated this, and they found that there was some issues with transformers that would impact, the overall ability of the Hudson Line Power to service their entire customer base. So they have switched their priorities around, and the capital funding that was gonna be used for the Hudson Road project is now gonna be, at least the current plan is now gonna be used towards upgrading those transformers. So unfortunately, that's where the situation is right now. I think the board should stay aware of that. I'm trying to, as the Stowe representative to the board of Hudson Line Power, I'm certainly trying to keep abreast of that and the impacts that it, might have on, the projects, particularly Wandering Pond.
Yeah, and I've been talking to the general manager about concerns of expansion and Stowe and not having the, especially with our energy code and stretch code and not having the power available. So they are aware. They had asked.
The workaround is just for one project, it's not, they can't, I mean, the workaround of coming up and back down is,
No, because
Yeah.
there will be a cost to the developer, so
Well,
they're still
exactly.
working on that.
yes,
Um,
right.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And on that note, power is back on the Hudson Acres.
We're gonna
Thank
decide.
They are hoping it stays. There was a breaker issue, it was not a tree.
Oh.
And so if they go out again, then they'll have to, it'll take about an hour, but they have been on now for at least 5 minutes, so hopefully all is well.
I need to get some
Great.
ice around the breaker, something.
Cool
Fans.
man, something.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Arnie,
you,
thanks so
Arnie.
much, it's really amazing.
Awesome.
All right, moving on to our next topic, the special event permit for Polarized Guru Funkopotamous concert.
Funkopotamous.
Funkopotamous. So,
Alright,
So Paul, who submitted the special event request, is on.
Okay.
I will,
I'm here, can you hear me?
yes.
yes, we can.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. So, is there anything you'd like to say at this point concerning the permit?
I guess the only question I was gonna ask, I was wondering if I would charge a small admission and donate that money to the Neshoba Friends of Music. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that before. But I actually did something like that years before. I've been in Stowe a long time, 41 years.
Well, on the face of it, it sounds like an interesting proposition. I don't know if there's any issues with accepting the funds or transferring the funds or.
Well, it wouldn't be us accepting anything.
Yeah.
He's looking to rent the space.
Yes.
I mean, I would say just a couple things, not necessarily on that. I think, as we do with other groups, we did it with Saga, there is an insurance requirement. So we would be looking for him to provide an insurance certificate that there's coverage. And my other concern that figured you'd want to talk with him about is, the request is in November, 7 PM to 10 PM. I don't know what type of music or how loud. There are houses quite close to that building. I don't know how well sound travels outside of that building. And we would have to deal with people crossing the street on a dark fall night. Those were my sort of initial concerns, and I wanted to make sure the board at least talked through some of those with him to make sure you are comfortable issuing a permit.
Right, so the style of music will be played that night is what I would call jazz fusion. It's kind of a mix of jazz and funk. It's not heavy metal, it's, nothing extremely loud. And there will be two bands, my band will be a trio, we're going to play first. And then the second band is called Polarized Guru, they will play second, they are a 5-piece group. So the first group, my group is electric guitar, bass and drums, and then Polarized Guru is like, what are they? They are saxophone, keyboard, bass, drums. Yeah, they're a quintet. Piano, yeah. So,
Okay.
Paul, was your request for donation, is that all the fee, or are you making a profit off of this?
I was thinking of not taking any profit for the bands, just purely for, the Friends of Music. And, just, I think it'd be a good way to get people out to the event too, because I think, I think it could be inspiring to, budding musicians from the high school or whatever. So, could be a way to get people out and I think it's a good thing to do in general.
And it would introduce people to the town hall.
So I would just comment, we don't allow
Correct.
for-profits, so I don't know if you would require something that says that if he is accepting a fee, I don't know if you want something more formal that it would be donated, just because we don't allow for-profits to use the property.
And that is one of the things
Oh.
that I was going to say, that we need to have something in writing, stating that all funds collected will be donated to the appropriate, I believe, that is a 501c3 you're donating to, is it not? Paul?
Yeah, I don't know what the 501c3 is.
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've talked to, Ed Neshoba Regional about this, but I think, it's something I have to do. And, just to get the feedback on it, to see if they think yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is it a Neshoba High School group that you wanna donate to?
Yes, yeah, the Friends of Music is, based out of Neshoba.
Okay, so then they would be a nonprofit.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think that group still exists. My wife was actually a member of that years back when we had younger kids.
Okay, no, so then it definitely is a not-for-profit, a 501c3. So
Okay.
I would recommend that we get something in writing
Well, it's
stating
on the
that.
form, it's on his application.
Yeah, so it's already in writing. Well,
On the
he
first
said, but
page
he
of
didn't define which group at that time.
That's right, he
Right.
did not
Yes.
say, it says to a worthy still cause, he didn't
Right,
specify in the
And that's why,
Yeah.
and
So we
worthy
can
still
just-
cause does not define it as a 501c3.
So
And
we
I
can
would
just-
actually, it should not say 501c3, because the school is not a 501c3, the school would be a government entity. So it should just be a not-for-profit entity, whether it's a 501c3 or a municipal
So
government.
that can be done by amending the application?
I think just an email is fine, just so that we have it with the application, I think that would be fine.
Alright,
Okay, and then the other thing is, I definitely still want, insurance coverage.
So that is one of our requirements normally, it's on the event permit that he would have to provide insurance.
we didn't get that, Paul.
No, just asking, what is the purpose of the insurance?
Because the town would not be liable for you holding an event there and you're technically renting the building from us. So we are not liable for something that should happen.
Got it, okay.
And the Friends of Music is a nonprofit 501c3
Is it?
according to
Okay.
their website.
For you, thank you.
Great, perfect.
Alright, so what we need then is proof of, are we then asking that this be discussed at our next meeting with the additional, or is this something we can issue
No, we can
with-
issue with
with
the
conditions.
With
Okay,
conditions,
fine.
yeah.
So the conditions would be clarify that it's the Friends of Music and clarify
The insurance.
the insurance requirement. And then Denise asked the question with respect to management of public after dark. Is that, we don't have a lot of traffic in that part of town after dark, but.
Well, it's 117, we do, because people would be parking here and walking across the
Okay,
street.
okay, alright.
So I mean, I can certainly have, we have on the, which is our standard language on our event permits, to make arrangements with the police and fire department.
Right,
They both reviewed it and didn't have any concerns about the event itself,
okay,
but we may want them to look at, especially the police, just to make sure that there's no concerns with people crossing the street. I mean, I think you've all been out there and no one stops at the flashing crosswalk sign, so I do have a little bit of concern the way people come around that corner. But if the police say they don't think it's needed, I think that's fine, but we should at least have them review
okay, for that specific.
for that,
So
just
there's
because,
the-
Pedestrian
conditions.
traffic,
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so those are the three conditions then?
yes.
Okay,
police
So
review.
if you're gonna need me to, make out a form, maybe if you could just email that to me and I'll get on that.
Yeah, there won't be a form, we will just have you, we will put the police chief in touch with you to go over your event and see if he feels that anything is needed.
Okay.
okay, so
Okay, so,
we've got some choices here. We're looking at the,
I believe we're looking at.
So you should be fine with the first one, which approves it based on that your requirements are met and approved. by
Okay.
me, which is what we normally do.
Yep.
If you're fine with the time, then the other two, or if you wanted to add any additional requirements, you could add them in. And we also need, because there is amplified music, it does require an event, an entertainment license, so you have that to vote on as well.
Right.
So if I do the second one with the following requirements of the,
Well, no, the first one would cover,
'Cause
because it's required under the special event permit have been met and approved by the town administrator.
oh, okay,
So Denise will confirm the 3 items.
so just do
Right.
the first.
So the only thing that's not on the permit would be confirmation that all proceeds would be donated. But I think that's fine to just supplement. I don't think that needs to actually be on the permit unless you want it on there. If you want it on there, then you could add the following requirement that that's actually listed as a permit requirement. But the detail review and the insurance is on there already.
And his email will clarify what his application
Intention.
said.
Yes.
Good, okay.
Okay.
So I think we're good with,
Yeah, I think we're good with that.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
I move to approve a special event permit for the Polarized Guru Funkopotamous concert to be held at Stowe Town Hall on Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, from 7 to 10 p.m. Event manager Paul Cummings provided all requirements on the special event permit have been met and approved by the town administrator. And further, I move to approve an event and entertainment permit for the Polarized Guru Funkopotamous concert to be held at Stowe Town Hall on Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, from 7 to 10 p.m. Event manager Paul Cummings.
second.
Any further comments?
Nope.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So thank you, Paul, and work with Denise in finishing up the 3 items, and you'll be on your way.
Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we now need to move on to our plumbing, gas, and electrical fee increase request. It's pretty straightforward, these haven't been
I do have a
updated.
question on one item, which is the significant increase in the fees for appliances. So if I buy a washer and dryer, in addition to paying $500 or $600 per unit, I'm also paying the town $150, which is almost 25% or 20% of the cost of the unit. So when reviewing that proposed increase, I felt that was a little severe. So it's a question, I guess, where these came from and what's the support for that?
So these are fairly standard across the municipal world now. We have not increased our fees in many, many years. So they did a a fee survey and based it on the fact that the inspectors get paid a percentage of the fee. So they were trying to back into it based on what the market rate is for plumbers and electricians and try and come up with the appropriate fee schedule.
I just think that's steep. I
And
mean,
actually, believe it or not, I actually looked into it with different towns and everything else. That's actually middle of the road, believe it or not.
And are we talking about washer and dryer,
yeah, what is an
dishwasher?
appliance? Is it really dishwasher? Do I have to pay another $100 for a dishwasher?
I don't think a dishwasher requires a permit.
Does a washer and a dryer?
I don't think a washing machine, I think a dryer would, cause you're hooking it up to, if you're using gas, or propane, you have to heat it, so you're hooking it up to something.
So you need, yeah, you
Oh, so
I
if it's
did
an
have a gas-
electric,
dryer and had to have an inspector
Correct.
check the
Yes.
gas
but
line.
electric ones,
If it's
I
a
don't
gas
think we need.
stove,
Correct.
you would have to have it inspected.
so
Correct.
does this need to be, does the definition of appliance, is that, maybe I'm overthinking this, is that a possibility?
So it's under, I understand, and the write-up is a little hard to follow, but, so that is under the gas fees. So the gas fees have, the appliances are considered water heater, a range, a dryer, a fireplace, a propane tank, and a boiler or furnace. Those are the things that have to be hooked up to a gas line. If it is an electric device, there is no fee to hook up.
Got it. Okay, then I am happier with the rate.
I was a little confused with it because under new and replacement appliances, it says $100 for the first appliance, $50 for each additional appliance. And then lists water heater $50, but isn't a water heater an appliance? So.
I wouldn't consider a water heater an appliance.
Water
Yeah,
heater
the
is
water
not.
heater is the passive, it's not like we go in there and mess around with it.
Huh,
It's like you
Okay.
don't throw your clothes in the lot, you know what I mean?
cause on the old schedule, it lists range, dryer, boiler, and all that stuff, those are
Oh.
appliances.
But, well, okay, well, that's why they had to update it.
Okay.
I don't know.
That is, yes, no, it is, they had to, in the update, they also broke it out and clarified,
Okay,
which it wasn't in the past.
Well, it apparently still isn't for some of us. All right, so I'm
now
done.
that I understand better, okay.
Yes, yeah, I was a little like, whoa, cause I just bought a washer and a dryer.
And a re-inspection fee of $75 per inspection, so if they inspect and you paid $50 and it didn't pass, you pay $75 to have it inspected again.
To have someone go
Yep.
back after work is done, yep.
Okay,
Yeah, a little punitive, huh?
get it right the first time, in other words.
Exactly, and that's what that's about.
Okay, run this meeting, buddy.
I'm waiting for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the increase in plumbing, gas, and electrical fees effective July 1st, 2025, as presented on behalf of the building commissioner.
Second.
Any further comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Thank you, okay. So, next on the agenda is to revisit letter on democracy voted on at June 10th meeting. I just wanna make this, between the board, I think public comment was received in the last meeting, so I just wanna, hammer this out and, thoughts, etc., and see where we're gonna go. My first question is, has town council reviewed it?
Town council's not reviewed the letter. Town council was asked to review the proclamation request that was submitted. So that was sort of put on hold. The board discussed proceeding with the letter. Just as a background, so the board discussed it, there was some edits. Mark had provided some additional documentation that night. You guys sort of read them. The next morning, I went and consolidated everything into the revised letter, sent it off to the chair, and she said, "Oh, I didn't realize this is what we voted. I'm not comfortable with this. I'd like to put it back on the agenda." I said to her that you need to send an email so that the board knows why it's back on the agenda, which she did, and then she sent what she considers her amended version. So the board did take a vote. There was only 3 members of the board at that meeting. She has stated, and she told me I could tell you, she will not vote it as it was, she would not sign it as it was voted at the last meeting. She's not comfortable after she reread it. Tonight, you have the original letter that was voted last meeting. There are 3 of you again, so if you choose to approve it, it's here and you can sign it. There's her amended letter. You can review and choose to sign it. So that's why it's back on with her edits.
Well, I unfortunately missed the last meeting, so I'm a little not caught up. I feel this is a very important letter to get out, and I guess I need to understand, well, and I do understand the, what's the right word? The intent of having all 5 members present. In the summer, I'm not sure we'll get there, but I don't wanna hold this up too long. Can you guys, were you both present at the last meeting?
I was not.
Apparently, I was the only one.
Oh, okay, so do you have anything to say with respect to the,
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion and the main points we discussed was, personally, we may agree with the points being made, but as representatives of the town of Stowe on the select board, we didn't feel that we could send the initial proclamation the way it was worded, because it didn't reflect the beliefs of all the people of the town of Stowe. What we were trying to figure out was, could we send something that showed, here's our concerns with what is happening to the town, to the residents of the town of Stowe, based on the activities of the current administration and legislature. And Denise was trying real quick to wordsmith something, and that's how we came with this original copy, which I can understand why,
When you say this original copy,
or
which
this
one are you?
copy,
This-
what's
The
in
one
our
that's,
packet.
the one that's labeled, it's the first one, it's page 22, it says voted 610, so that's what the board
Voted.
Right.
voted.
Okay.
Now, again, without seeing it, based on what was discussed, so I do wanna clarify
We
that.
briefly read through it and said it was different.
Right.
You
And
know,
then
the
we have
original
this.
letter actually singled out the president and discussed the various activities he had performed that were violations. And again, personally, we might feel in agreement with those, but I myself and Dan and Megan all echoed the same feeling that it wasn't something we thought the select board could make that statement, because it wasn't representative of the entire town.
And so then we have this revised one.
So then, yeah, we saw this, we said, okay, that looks like a good revision, but honestly, I didn't get to read it in detail either, I glanced at it. The main thing that I noticed was that it did remove the president's name. But yes, it does go into specific accusations and everything, and I had looked at the revision that Megan was proposing. And I kind of feel like I understand why it's watered down. I'd have to say personally that, or not personally, but as a member of this board, I could not again support the one that we voted on last time, but I also felt that the one that Megan's shown is too watered down. I would have preferred something in between. Something that said the tariffs are affecting the economies of the residents of the town of Stowe.
Well, there's even debate on that.
Yeah.
There is debate. Some people are
There is.
benefiting from, a
Yep.
significant number
Okay.
are suffering from it.
There's a lot of things,
This is
but
discussion, Bud.
I understand, and I'd like to throw in here that I really feel like this is going down a slippery slope, folks.
it is.
We're
What?
talking about violating our own policy right now.
What is that?
That-
Which policy?
That no proclamation is politically based.
Right. That's another reason why we were saying, if we could talk about what the effects of the current activities are to the residents of Stowe, we can discuss it from that point of view. But then I didn't realize when we approved the one last time, that we really didn't get into what are the effects to Stowe residents. We're still talking about specific activities and debating its legalities.
If I may add to that point, so I think that was part of it, it was, the proclamation itself was put on hold pending town
Yes.
council review and perhaps getting from feedback about what's actually affecting the town of Stowe and its residents. The letter was sort of supplementary to the proclamation to send something out by July 4th was the request. So the proclamation is still at council, I sent it that next day, but have not heard back. She did touch base that they are reviewing it. I did not send the letter to them, to
And the
council.
proclamation, I think we were gonna hold off until September.
That's the next time you'll have a full board, yes.
The reason why I have issue with stuff like this is, okay, so we do this. Somebody walks in that door and wants us to do something with Trump.
With Trump. You mean in support
In
of
favor
Trump?
of Trump,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I see. Well,
Okay, and if we put this letter out, we're
but
opening up a real
I
can of
have a
worms.
counter argument to that. Silence is endorsement, and I think we cannot just be silent.
Great, sign letters with other private citizens and petitions that are all out there that are going on right
I
now.
think it's important for a government body.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this question, is there any other town that has done it? And the answer is no. They want Stowe as the first
Sorry.
of this.
I'm out of order. You asked the question.
No, we're not accepting this stuff, I'm sorry. No,
Sorry.
this is a discussion between us.
Yes, but it was submitted by Mark, and we should be allowed to be part of the discussion.
Well, it sounds,
We've had the public discussion last week. The views were viewed, and this is kept amongst the board at this point. Review views.
you weren't there when those discussions were held. Is this Cambridge?
No.
I don't know for sure whether another body has done anything. I didn't research it then or since then. I honestly don't think that really matters.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of being first.
Well, but I do think that, again, it goes back to, we as a select board are here to represent the interests of the residents of the town of Stowe.
All residents.
Of all residents. So to discuss the items of how these things might be hurting or affecting
Which is
residents.
Which is why we as a board do not put things like this out leaning one way or the other.
We avoid the political comment, we just make the comment that we're concerned senior citizens are being affected, economies are being affected, resident immigrants are being affected. These are all the things that are currently happening that are affecting the town of, the residents of the town of Stowe. And we have a concern and would like the state legislature to speak up about it.
Why didn't this letter also get sent to federal reps?
Cause the
That was
whole
not part
idea
of the
here
request.
is to get the state, to get enough towns to pressure the state legislature to make a state comment. Governor Healy and the state reps and senators.
Right, so it's a way of supporting Governor Healy on her.
Well, I don't even think it was something that Governor Healy is asking for.
No,
It's
no,
just-
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying she's standing up for certain things. And so this, if her 352 communities can support her as well on that.
Well, and even for what, the things that she's standing up for, she's never directly made comments, I won't say never. As far as I know, she hasn't made comments about the legality of certain actions, that's being
Okay,
left to
and-
the courts.
Okay, and I understand because the Supreme Court is all over the place these days, so. Sorry, it's in here. So when is the next select board meeting?
July 8th.
And the next one where we'll all be here is not till September, I believe.
Correct. Someone is missing your next two meetings.
Right, I'm missing the 8th.
And you're missing the August meeting, you told me.
Since two of you weren't here last time,
Excuse me, I'm not taking any more public comment, thank you.
but the letter has changed.
I am not taking any more
beyond-
public comment, please, sir, thank you.
Wait a second, there's been
I
a
am not
violation
taking
of the
any more
open
public
meeting law.
comment.
There was a vote
You represent
taken-
us and you're not willing to listen to the people
I
that came
am
about
not
this issue?
taking
Come on,
public
JT.
comment.
But
Enough, I will ask for the police to come in. I'm very serious, I'm not taking public comment at this point. What I'm going to say is that I think we do need to hold on to this until a later time if we're really gonna move forward. Again, I have major reservations with it because I really do feel like it's going down a slippery slope. I do wanna talk with my other colleagues as well on the board.
Yeah, and it looks like that's not gonna happen until September, before we're all present.
Well, no, I'm saying the others will be back. You won't be here for July and August, right?
I agree that I think this should be something that we should all be present for to discuss. And when we initially, those of us that were here last time, initially approved it, we did say that we would, we asked that it be held back so that you two would have an opportunity to review and decide whether or not to sign it. But now that Megan is also changing the letter, I could see where we should all be present to discuss it together.
Yeah, the letter aspect, the
Well,
proclamation,
the proclamation is
we don't
still
know,
with the
that's
lawyers, right?
different. That's in the lawyer's hands.
Yes.
But I think with this letter, I'm not comfortable doing this at this point, I'm just not.
Megan's isn't that watered down. I mean, she does say uphold the Constitution, uphold the federal laws that have been passed, as well as their interpretation by the Supreme Court. So, you know, all right, I guess I'm a minority here, but
So I'd rather
I am
wait.
not in favor of just silence. Silence is very dangerous.
I not disagree, but there are certain venues that things are dealt with. And I really feel that
Starts
this is not.
local.
I understand, and we can do that in other venues in other ways, that's just my opinion. But again, because it's just my opinion, I'd rather have our other colleagues here as well to really, you know,
I seriously doubt much will change
So
between now and
JT,
September.
why are you not
make
allowing
this-
public discussion?
I seriously doubt there's gonna be much change between now and September to make this a moot point.
Mr.
Still be able to
Chairman,
discuss
why are you
this.
not allowing public discussion?
but I do think I'd like to have the others involved and present, so I think we should table this, I really do.
Why aren't you allowing some public discussion? We're here this evening to interact with you.
So I'm gonna table it at this point.
You're gonna ask,
It was the front page of the Stowe Independent, and the report of the Stowe Independent is going to be, the board did not issue, and that's going to be an opinion of the board.
unfortunately, our correspondence includes other people who are opposed to this letter,
Yep.
so.
That's right.
I've actually seen, so there was the correspondence, there was also comments on Facebook, cause I forward the agenda whenever it's posted to the other town affiliated. And there were a couple of comments on Facebook that completely opposed to this.
So that's what, I just really feel like, yeah,
As a
Well-
board, we have to consider all.
all constituents.
You cannot ever make everyone happy.
I
No.
understand,
But we can consider all input.
Right.
Before making a decision.
That's a good response.
yes.
So are you asking for a vote on tabling this? You cannot
I don't think we have to
unilaterally
vote to
make
table it,
that
do we?
decision.
Right,
I would recommend if that's what you're gonna do, cause you voted to issue one at the last meeting, so if you're
that's
looking to
true.
do something differently, there should be a vote.
So those in favor of tabling
Well,
this.
there needs to be a motion first before you're asking for.
Mr. Chair, or Mr.
Acting chair.
Acting Chair, I move that we table this letter and discussion until such time when all members can weigh in on it together.
Second.
So the motion
Okay,
stands.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it has been tabled.
The point of the motion was a July 4th deadline.
I know.
Boston is issuing theirs tomorrow.
It's on.
Amherst, Lexington, other towns.
It's been tabled, thank you.
We'll do something for September, Labor
I
Day.
find this offensive.
Next,
you have people
You're
attended
wasting,
here.
Trump's moving every minute. You act
Every
like,
minute.
you act like nothing's happening. Maybe we should
the
have a
next
recall
on
of
our
JP
agenda,
Tool.
please, we've moved on,
Yes,
thank
you
you.
have moved on.
The next agenda item is to sign the annual warrant for animal control services. Folks have had a chance to review that.
Yeah, it's pretty strongly worded.
So may I make a comment, because the question has come up the last few years about using the word kill? That is statutory language which we are required to use. I think,
Yes.
Ingeborg, you asked about that last year, or Courtney. We did check the law and we did check with other communities and they all use that statutory language. Now, I will say, a lot of towns don't even do this formality, but it is required.
Okay, so I will take the motion.
Mr. Acting Chair, in accordance with Chapter 140, Section 151A of the Massachusetts General Laws, I move to approve the annual animal control warrant dated June 24th, 2025, and effective for 1 year from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, and to authorize the board clerk to sign it on behalf of the board.
Second.
Which happens to be you anyway. Which happens to be you
Yes, it
anyway.
does.
You're the board clerk.
Yes, I am. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Okay, this one, review town hall usage by for-profit entities.
Yes, so apologies, I did not have a chance to write something up for this.
But Denise, my concern with this is, you know, we haven't looked at this policy. And the only area I can see in town where we do anything is over at Pompo. We should at least be using that policy for our other buildings to at least have some uniformity.
Unless there's unusual circumstances associated with the town hall, like the cost of heating it in the winter, which is very different than the cost of heating the other one, I'm assuming. Isn't that oil?
Yes.
Yes. So, well, I bring to light the point only because right now, the fee that's been used doesn't even cover our custodial costs, it's like
Okay.
$25.
Right, I do remember that we came up with this fee back in the olden days.
Yes.
And so are you suggesting we look at both of them at some
Well,
point?
well, at least,
Well, you didn't even let her finish her presentation.
I didn't, and you're right. And I
You
took that prerogative,
Interrupted,
and I took that prerogative as the chair, so,
as the acting chair.
the chair this evening, acting chair, whatever title you wanna use, I was using my prerogative.
At least she didn't call you chair wannabe.
Yeah.
Or ex-chair wannabe. All right, can you ask Denise to please complete the presentation that was proposed to be conducted?
Sure.
Thank you.
Denise, would you like to continue?
Sure. So, in reviewing town hall use and requests that come through, a request had been submitted for the property. I reviewed it, we did some research, I didn't quite know if it was new, if it was an old request. In researching it, it is a for-profit dancing school. I had reached out to the woman who requested it, I told her that I had denied it, we do not rent our facility for for-profit businesses. I will say she is a resident, she does understand that. She said while she makes money, she puts the majority of it back into the dancing school. The kids have competitions and whatnot, and she supports most of that. It is the Scottish Highland Dance Troupe. I told her that our policy has been, at least since I've been here, we don't really have, the policy we have over there is very willy-nilly. At least since I've been here, we have not allowed for-profit. The fee was set a long time ago, it's $25, whether you use it for 10 minutes or 23 hours. It's $25 a day. And so.
But only for, not for nonprofits, nonprofits are free.
No, we still charge, that building, there's no free. Everybody is $25 a day, other than
The town-
municipal use.
The town hall,
The town hall is $25 for using it, because
okay.
we still have to pay the utilities and custodial staff and whatnot. So that, it is a $25 fee primarily for nonprofits. That was and it was said that it was nonprofit $25 fee. So I had reached out to her, she explained her situation. I said, I know that the board is going to be looking at that building and usage and fee schedules and whatnot, but I will ask at their next meeting, what the board thinks of allowing a for-profit entity to use it. She has used it in the past, I honestly, before I didn't actually research and realize it was for-profit, I thought it was like the drum group and folks that are just practicing. And so that's why I denied it and then brought it to you. So I told her I would get your thoughts and let her know tomorrow.
So she's not using it for just practice?
No, she's teaching dancing school.
Oh, she's teaching jazz.
So on the Pompo, we allow, I don't know whether you call them for-profits, but we allow not nonprofits.
We allow any entity, but there is a much higher fee structure there.
Right. So I
Because it's a
would,
per hour and it's about $100 an hour plus an event manager plus
Okay.
utility costs, et
so in
cetera.
my opinion, to reiterate what the chair was saying, and also to respond to the recommendations from the town hall committee, that we should encourage the use of that building. And possibly using the Pompo guide, the Pompo policy as guidance. Is that where you were going before I rudely interrupted you?
Yeah, it was exactly where I was going.
Okay, then there
So
you
we've
have
come
it.
to the same conclusion.
Is that something you would be amenable
it.
to? Jinx?
So using that guide,
Mm-hmm.
Pompo, we charge pretty much everybody except for the Boy Scouts. We don't charge them. We charge most other groups to use it.
I used it for Society of Wetland Scientists and we didn't have to pay anything. It's a nonprofit though,
Okay,
but it was like a huge conference there.
so that's part of the issue.
Okay,
Um,
incomplete.
And that is part of why the building department, who oversees the facility, has taken back the scheduling of buildings because it has not been standard.
Okay,
The process has not been followed.
okay.
I think something similar is what we should put in place for the town hall. I don't know that we will have people using it if we use the same fee structure. I don't know that Saga would pay $400 for a 4-hour block
I
of
see.
an event.
Okay.
But I do think it should be more than 25, maybe it's $25 an hour. I do think we should, and I made a note that, JT asked to add the reuse stuff to the August agenda. At that point, I would say step one would be to discuss a use policy and fee schedule. And that would be what I added for the August meeting, because I think that's something that should be considered. And then in that same conversation, if you want to encourage use, then we encourage for-profit. Now,
So
that
the
being said,
restriction for nonprofit is just for the town hall?
well, I don't know that we have any for-profit groups that want to use the other building, because it's expensive. So like birthday parties and things like that, they all pay the $100 an hour. So when we have people actually renting out the space, they pay the fee schedule. And they're, a person having a birthday party is a nonprofit entity, technically.
Well, I guess
Not
I'm trying to
legal, but-
understand, why do we allow the for-profit at Pompo and not at town hall?
Because it's a different fee schedule.
That's the only reason.
I believe so.
That's why it's on the agenda.
It has the commercial kitchen. I mean, we talked about it a few years ago. We talked
Right,
about
the
letting
commercial
bakers
kitchen,
use the
yeah.
kitchen, and we've had those conversations. I think because that is, supposed to be the community room, so if people wanted to have their own yard sale in there, they could rent the space, pay the fee, and have a yard sale and make money off of it. We have not done that across the street because it's supposed to be community space, historical.
But we have now some recommendation that says, let people know about this building, let's see what we can do for it.
Yes.
So we need to come up with a separate
Yes.
and a new fee schedule for the town hall.
I think it should be, maybe the same line, but I do think if you wanna get people in there, there should be, and maybe there's two fee schedules, maybe there's a nonprofit and a for-profit fee schedule. So if someone is a for-profit entity that wants to use it, they pay a little bit higher rate because they're making money off our
What's,
building.
a family renting it for a private event, that's not for profit and
No,
it's
we
not-
just charge them the $25, and I would say
No, I
that's the
know,
same
in our
thing.
future situation, so it's not just two categories, it's gotta be Stowe resident, which was a big discussion when we ran through this the first time.
Yep.
So a Stowe resident gets a reduced fee because our taxes are supporting it. then there's the nonprofit, then there's the for-profit. So there's sort of like a private residential thing, so there's different categories.
There are, and now, you know, I guess good and bad. We have people that don't live in town that got wind of having big parties over there and they wanna rent it out for their $25 to have a 6-hour party and,
Well, right, and that's why we're looking at that.
but they're non-residents. You know, so now
Yes.
you have people outside of town that wanna have parties there.
Which is good too.
Yep.
Right. So what would you like
Well,
tonight?
tonight, the question is really this one dancing school. I put her on hold. I told her I would ask the board what your thoughts are.
I
and
am
I would get
totally
back.
in favor of it.
It's in favor of what?
Having the dancing school use the space perhaps at a higher fee.
They've been doing it for a while.
Well, yeah, no, understand at a higher fee, but
But then you need to set a fee right now.
yeah, we actually have to set a fee right now.
Unless we're gonna put it on hold and let her
Well,
come back when a new policy is in
So we
place.
set a fee in June of 2025, and when we look at this in September,
That's fine.
we amend the fee. So if we say $100, you know,
Has she
for-
been paying anything
$25 per use.
per use?
For use. Okay,
On average, how
Here's my
long has she
question.
used it?
if we're gonna try to do a fee tonight, do we have any idea what the cost is to open the building up, the electricity to maintain? I'd at least like to cover our costs.
I was
And,
gonna propose like a $50 minimum fee for 2 hours and $25 for any hour after that.
will that at least cover our cost in the building?
I don't know what the utilities are. I just don't. I mean, there's no air conditioning, so
Right.
you know, this is just a temporary thing. to
No,
get-
I understand,
It reinforces the
I understand.
recommendations.
Yes, and I was on that committee and I get that. But I also have to look at it from the point of view, that we have a responsibility, a fiduciary
We're talking about a
responsibility.
3-month thing to get that building used. Take a chill,
How
huh?
long have they been using the building?
I don't know. This is not her first time requesting it.
Okay,
You know.
She has been using it.
yeah. Do you know by any chance how long they, each session is?
No, but I can look at the request that she put in while you're.
Does custodial staff go in there to clean up afterwards?
So they have the schedule if people are in there, but I don't know that they go every day. So they go in, I think, twice a week and clean that building.
Is this a weekly thing or weekend? During the week or week?
Weekly, I believe.
A week.
Actually, it might be both. It might be a weeknight and a weekend morning, if I remember correctly.
So she's using it 2 days a week.
Let me double check, but I think it was a morning and an evening.
It's not awful, I just wanna make sure.
I'm joking. See, odd was the better word. I loved it.
It's not letting me in, but let me try this one.
See,
It's
I
another-
restricted everything, even your computer.
The chair did that on purpose.
That's right.
Okay. Um. Give me a minute, cause I have to find her, cause it was denied, I have to find her request. Feel free to keep talking amongst yourselves.
Well, I mean,
So did that fee sound reasonable?
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it sounded, so you're saying,
$50 flat for the, and that
First
covers
2.
2 hours,
Right.
and then $25 for each additional hour after the first 2.
So it's basically
$25
$25
an hour.
But you guaranteed,
I'm sorry,
you
guaranteed.
guaranteed get $50 whether they use
Oh,
it for an
whether-
hour
well,
or
that
2,
wasn't
Okay.
clear.
which should
That's-
cover
Yes.
certain expenses,
Yes, I
initial
agree.
expenses.
no, okay, yeah, but I was the same,
I
like, wait a minute,
understood what you were thinking, but I thought I'd clarify.
Nope, that was an excellent clarification.
Minimum of 2 hours, so $50. Yes. As a temporary thing, you know, so we don't overanalyze this, cut off our nose to spite our face,
Right,
in my opinion. I'm just one member.
with
All
a
right.
big voice.
Pain in the butt,
No,
yeah, huh.
nuh-uh. Not, as far as I'm concerned, not at all.
So what are we waiting for?
We're trying to find out.
Yeah, I'm just,
I was just trying to find out, on average, how long does she use it? Does she use it for just 2 hours?
Right.
Yeah,
Cause I imagine this isn't a major moneymaker for her, so I don't know how much it'll affect
Right.
her school.
It increases her cost by at least 25 if she has 2 hours.
by $25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doubles, at least doubles her expense, potentially more.
If she runs over.
So, let's debate, well, this, oh my goodness.
And we don't prorate any other hours. It's like, if you're there 2 hours and 10 minutes, well, then you pay the
That's $75.
Yeah.
I know, but the rub is, are we discouraging its use by these small businesses, right? I'm thinking of the presentation we had by your committee.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an experimental period of up to 5 years, but it could be less. And so is this our first experiment?
so I think she just, I still can't find what but I think she created her account for the facilities rental in February 1st of this year. So I don't think she's one that has used it for years,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
but I'm still
So
trying
this
to.
is a different one, cause I know there's been dancing going on there for
Yeah.
Oh, there are definite, but the dancing classes that happen now are recreation programs.
Okay,
So they pay the fee to recreation and then they are able to use, then recreation books the spaces.
well, let's hope this doesn't kill her business, but.
I don't think what you're proposing is gonna kill her business. I
So
mean,
should
if she,
I think it's fair, and we can just say, look, we're starting to look at having the town hall be used more frequently. We need to cover our insurance. Does she have to cover her own insurance?
We did not require it last time because we thought she was a nonprofit, just using it as part of the regular dance.
that's
So-
another whole issue.
Right. So I'd say I agree with Hector's recommendation. And we can just explain it as, times have changed and we need to.
I don't have a problem with the fee structure, but I do think we need to have some insurance.
So if I may, she had put in 7 request dates, Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 hours each.
So there's $75.
July, the month of July, starting July 8th, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Oh, it'll be $75.
Times 2.
Or times 7, because she requested 7 dates,
Well, that's right. For each event, it's 75.
if that's what you're discussing,
So it's
yes.
$150 a day.
No.
Oh, sorry,
75.
A week.
Yeah, $150 a week.
$150 a week.
okay,
All right, let's see if this is a motion and we end up voting it, we can ask her if this works for her.
What about insurance?
Well, yeah, I think somebody's gotta have, I don't know if her school has insurance, I mean, students get hurt, they crack their little bones.
I think I would assume so, she must have her own insurance, she runs the school, it's her
Right.
class, so I
So
can certainly
then
ask her to provide us with a copy of her insurance.
Additionally, if it's a general liability, additionally naming the town. Which does not cost her anything extra, I know that for a fact,
You know that for a fact.
yes,
Okay,
I use it all the time.
all right then.
Thank you, ma'am.
do you all take this on the road?
No, it only starts around 9 o'clock when I start losing my professionalism.
Your little filter there, right?
My
Was that
filter.
Hector I heard making a motion?
Yes, that was Hector, and here's the second.
Is that what I heard? Come on with it.
Point made.
All
I
right,
move.
and I second. I did.
He didn't make the motion, will
He
you let him?
did, she said, and he said.
And I will just clarify, our regulation says a minimum of $25 per use, so I think you do have the discretion to change it
Okay,
as you did.
So I move that we set the rate of $50 for the first 2 hours and $25 for each additional hour after that for the use of the town hall. And
For profit use or any use? You're just doing for profit at this point, right?
for profit use and proof of insurance.
Except you do have to clarify that there's a minimum 2-hour charge,
Right.
Right.
$50 for
the minimum,
first 2 hours,
Up to 2 hours.
up to 2 hours.
okay,
First hours and 20, yeah,
very good.
She understood it.
Second, there's your second.
thank you. Any further discussion? No, okay, all those in favor? Let the record show it's unanimous.
All right,
Okay, great. On to the next. Approval of $60,000 general bond anticipation note for the lower village traffic improvements. I'll take the motion, please.
I move to approve a $60,000 bond anticipation note for the Lower Village traffic improvements as presented on behalf of the treasurer, the collector. What was presented?
The stuff that's in your packet.
Oh, okay, so that's considered.
Or
the
I'm happy
presentation.
to give you an explanation.
second, sorry.
Yeah, this was for the,
This is the last year of the note that was taken out for the lower village.
Oh, that's right.
So it's
Okay.
the $60,000, it's the last time. We had rolled it over and paid it down every year we went, so.
right.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, let the record show it's unanimous. The final is to declare the 2000 International 4900 fire engine as surplus. I'll take a motion.
I move to declare as surplus the 2000 International 4900 fire engine valued at more than $10,000 and belonging to the town, and to authorize the disposal of the surplus item in accordance with our disposition policy and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30B.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any comments?
This does not include the fire chief.
This does not.
Okay, seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Okay, I will take a motion.
I move to accept the meeting minutes of the June 10, 2025 meeting,
Second,
and being the only person that was there and currently here. They look good to me.
they look good to you? Okay,
Well, and after reviewing them, I find them to be reasonable
Yep, you can vote.
and
right,
therefore
yes.
we can. So I did find them to be reasonable, and the clarity was there, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, let the record show it's unanimous. I will take a final motion.
Do we wanna discuss correspondence? No? Any, Verizon is dropping 2 channels,
I know.
and Xfinity's dropping 1 too.
It's just,
But there was something
Listen,
in the
you gotta talk to
correspondence that I wasn't quite clear about. A letter to the planning board, not that it affected us, but something about Verizon moving a cell tower or raising a cell
Oh,
tower.
raising it, oh, right. Yes,
10 feet.
10 feet.
That was interesting.
Well, that's, in the olden days, there was a limit on the heights that we allowed towers to go. And I think this may be a response, is there still that limit on, oh, so that's why it's going to the planning board? Okay, and I think the technology is such that they do need higher towers than we allowed. So I think it's,
Okay.
it's
And where is their tower in town?
there's a ton of them.
Verizon? I dropped Verizon
I
because
did
I
too.
couldn't get reception at meeting
Exactly.
house.
Me
And they
too.
flat out told me that they're not gonna do anything about it,
Well, they
so
lie.
that's not surprising.
okay,
Alright then, are we ready for the final motion?
yes.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Let the record show it is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.